Oh, well, Dr. Darren Green, let's talk about that. What exactly is the mojo?
Yes.
Libido.
The word libido obviously refers to your sex drive, and that involves obviously your cognitions, the energy behind that topic, which is centered around any form of sexual activity. So it's the driving force that leads to then behaviors, and behaviors that obviously are the result of your thoughts centered around that sex drive. How obsessed you are with it, how low it is, how high it is dependent on so many things, obviously. So
tell us about more. What are those factors that perhaps contribute to enhancing it or contribute to decreasing?
Initially, we thought it's just a physical thing, it's a hormonal thing. And with time, we realized, obviously, that it all involves the bio-psycho-social model. So cognitions are related to your libido. Culture, how you grew up, what the topic of sex was discussed as in your homes, the cultural view of your community about how you view activities around sex, for example, all contribute. Your interaction with your friends, your schooling, your community form a lot of what you think is normal, what's not normal. I mean, married couples, unmarried couples, they all want to talk about how many times a week is normal. And all those questions are all the result of the social interactions we have in relationships, as well as the cultural effect that we have. And then obviously on the medical front, we do have neurotransmitters of the brain that are released, that go to the sex organs and arouse you and make you aware of these feelings, obviously. So there are medical conditions that can affect that mojo.
Ooh, now, well, is it really different between men and women? Is there a huge difference?
Well, if you think about the chemical drivers of your libido, these are your sex hormones that are stimulated by testosterone, so they're called androgens. In men, the amount of androgens are 40 times higher than in women.
Oh my.
Specifically referring to testosterone, which is thought to be a very big contributor. We also find the downside of men having 40 times more testosterone is that they're more aggressive. So you'll find them a lot more aggressive. I don't know whether that was due to our hunter instinct to be aggressive and fight fear and survival and ensure survival of the species. But if you look at that amount, that's 40 times higher in men. So there's no wonder that in general, in terms of the general public, there often is an association of a higher sex drive in males than females, in most cases, but not all cases.
All right, so we're going to open up our lines, 08391333728. Our medical chat this morning is all about the libido. The mojo. And I want to ask Dr. Darren Green about the effect of culture on one's libido when we come back. So stay tuned for that. Right now, over to the kitchen.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, we're back with Dr. Darren Green, and today our topic, as is appropriate for Valentine's Day, is all about the libido. The mojo, as it were. And we had a caller, Dr. Darren, anonymous from Johannesburg, is saying that she has a particularly high sex drive whilst her husband or partner has a very low one. Is there anything that she can do in order to compensate or to encourage the partner to...
Good for her, but unlucky, obviously, to be in a relationship where there's mismatch of libidos. What is the reality is that people often have mismatch of libidos in relationships, and it's often seasonal. It doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. So one must look, obviously, holistically at this and look at, are there stress factors involved? What's his health condition like? Is she perhaps a little bit hypersexual? In other words, is hers too high or is his too low? And what are realistic expectations? We'll all get quite shocked if we actually expose and speak to experts in the field that can advise you as to whether your expectations of your sexual relationship are realistic or not. So in this case, obviously, in men, interesting to note that we lose 2% of testosterone from the age of 29 onwards.
Wow.
Per year.
Per year?
So by the time you're hitting 45, you've lost 50% of your testosterone drive. So remember that doesn't equate to your erectile function or your libido necessarily, but certainly testosterone combined with chronic stress, fatigue, lack of sleep, and lifestyle choices can contribute towards that. The relationship itself might need to be looked at as well. But for her, a good place to start would be firstly medically. He should always check himself out, and then secondly, perhaps have a look at and discuss with a decent psychotherapist or a psychologist regarding their relationship. There might be some underlying stuff that they might want to discuss and go into, and their perceptions and expectations need to be looked at.
Well, earlier you said you wanted to know, what effect does culture have on
Correct.
one's libido?
Yes, it does. And if you think about it, if you grow up in a house where physical touch and affection between your parents isn't witnessed, I'm speaking about hugs and kisses and it demonstratively showing that you care for someone physically, your mindset towards that experience of close, intimate experience already starts taking shape. Because you mimic behavior and you take what you grow up with in your culture as the norm. As we progress and hormones start kicking in, we don't know how to deal with those emotions and those that drive while we're at high school, for example, within the rules and constraints of growing up in a home or with our parents. And that conflict, without having an outlet to talk about it, means kids then rely on each other to educate themselves.
There we go.
My wife always says, you should be the first person to write in your child's folder regarding different topics in their life. Otherwise, someone else is going to write in that folder first.
Yeah.
So when it comes to talking about sex drive, explain to your teenager that it's very normal, it's very healthy, and help them with coping mechanisms that are healthy in terms of how to actually deal with those feelings.
Yeah.
So culture has a massive impact on that, and so does obviously your religious views, your spiritual views, and so forth. So there's a lot to take into consideration.
All right, I think we do have a question on social media. Michelle van Rooyen says, diabetes causes bad erection problems. How can we enhance a sexual relationship?
Yes, so understanding that diabetes is a very big cause of sexual dysfunction because it affects the blood vessels. When you need a drive, you often need to be made aware of your gonads and made aware of your sexual organs. You have increased blood supply to these vital areas and vital organs during that time. And that leads then obviously to the effects. So when you have a condition that affects the blood vessels, you have impaired blood supply, for example, to certain areas. And that would impair your function and your self-image and your performance anxiety to actually perform and actually man up or, perform in bed, for example, is affected. And then psychologically you suffer the consequence of having a low self-esteem when it comes to your sexuality.
Sure.
So it goes full circle.
Full circle.
All right, well, we'll be back very shortly with Dr. Darren. We'll be talking all about how you could possibly boost your libido, including whether the darker the chocolate really makes a difference. That has nothing to do with me, by the way. But stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. We are live on SABC3. Dr. Darren Green on the hot seat in our medical chat about libido this Tuesday morning, where Zoe has actually been offering some of her own advice as well, which we won't disseminate right now, though.
Well, I was asking Dr. Darren Green, they say like oysters are aphrodisiacs. Like, what exactly are aphrodisiacs?
So aphrodisiacs, the term defines mostly herbal remedies or plant extracts that are suggested or thought to have an effect on your sexual desire, but not only your desire, but your performance as well. And you'll see everything out there from Spanish fly all the way through to rhino horn, which led to so many bad things. That isn't effective. The association and the power of your mind when it comes to just focusing on sexuality and feeling like that absolute hero enhances your performance itself. There are certain, obviously, chemicals and drugs that are involved that help with increasing blood supply and help with energy levels specifically. When you have more energy and you are less tired and you've got a good blood vessel system, that's when you're going to perform, and that's what enhances your mental capacity to feel good about your performance.
Yeah. Can we, before we take this question, can we bust the myth or maybe prove it to be fact? The darker the chocolate...
What is the myth?
Then I guess that's it. We all know now. So it has no effect on your performance. Dr. Darren Green, a question on social media. Which fruits or foods boost libido?
So a lot of, obviously, fruits contain antioxidants. Antioxidants are said to help with the amount of free radicals. Things that boost, for example, nitric oxide, which controls the blood vessel diameter and the blood flow. So berries are very good for you, obviously. You'll hear the association of kinky capers. You'll hear the qualities of oysters, for example. Not so much the actual ingredients of the food, but the power of the sensual connotation and association is often what drives the effect of having... I mean, just look at Valentine's Day, for example.
Exactly.
Look at the restaurant. Love is in the air suddenly because of the focus on love, specifically. And exactly the same thing can happen when you're experiencing textures and shapes of food. that lead you down that path mentally.
There we go.
But other than, sorry to ask, I want to ask, other than foods and fruits, how else can someone boost their libido?
Exercise. If you exercise, obviously, it's a sense of euphoria and well-being, puts you in a better mental state. You're also de-stressing the clutter of your mind to allow yourself less distraction and to actually focus on your sexual health. So exercise is one, enough sleep. If you aren't sleeping at least 7 hours a night, I mean, just ask any breastfeeding mom with, that's sleeping 3 hours a night and can hardly find time to go to the toilet, whether she has a libido or not. The realities are those things are crucial in terms of redeveloping your libido.
Yeah. And then before we go, just a very quick one that was asked by my very learned colleague during the ad break, that it was posted on Twitter as well.
Oh, right.
Whether these libido boosting foods increase the potential dimensions of the organs involved, or whether they improve the performance of such said organs.
Yes, I think it's just the desire to use the organs is improved dramatically, yes.
Yes, and this is indeed what she said, thus proving it to be true. We will be back again with Dr. Darren Green shortly. I want to find out from an evolutionary point of view why we as humans developed a libido and why it might have...
In the first place.
Exactly. Maybe it was just all for survival purposes. We'll find out more shortly after this. Let's head on over to the kitchen show.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, the good Dr. Darren Green on the hot seat as we continue our medical chat this morning, all about the libido on Valentine's Day. The mojo.
Mojo.
We had a call from Anonymous who called us saying that she is 71 years old, having sex twice a week. Is that healthy?
It's extremely healthy. Having a healthy sexual relationship boosts so many parts of your health, including your immune system. But when we look at the act of sexual activity, you have a bonding hormone, which is oxytocin, which obviously is released when a mother breastfeeds. It's called the bonding hormone. It's released in the brain. And typically, when you have a sexual intercourse, you have obviously the dopamine, which is the reward, wonderful reward, the excitement of the experience immediately, but afterwards, post-sex and post-coital, you would then experience that that oxytocin is released as well. Thus, the need for an emotional bonding experience that follows sexual activity, specifically in women, more than in men.
Yeah.
So, very, very useful, and our health certainly will be promoted by it. There are, however, health conditions that you need to be careful of. I mean, mobility as you get older, we laugh about it, and it's something so simple. I mean, different positions, sexual activity as you get older, understanding obviously health risks associated with medical conditions, heart rates that go too fast, for example. We take these things for granted, but they are realistic. And in our older population, they often don't feel comfortable enough asking their doctor, whether they can or can't. My immediate advice is please bring it into the spotlight immediately with someone you trust. And it's wonderful. If it's someone you don't know socially, it's even easier.
But how does your libido change with time? Like,
Yes.
as you get older, does it increase? Does it decrease? I know you said with men, their testosterone levels decrease.
Yes,
as
with
they get
time,
older.
and that affects in men specifically as well. The other things that are affected in women, for example, to remain fertile and be obviously viable to carry a pregnancy, you need estrogen, you need that cycle. But poor ladies are often pumping their bodies full of oral contraceptives, which are synthetically synthesized hormones over time to prevent falling pregnant, for example. That, obviously, the effect of that combined with things like menopause have a direct effect on your sexual drive and energy. So as you get older, you can imagine that things definitely can change.
Right, a rather lengthy question here from Samantha Lee saying, good morning, my sex drive was really high in the beginning of my pregnancy but decreased after 7 months while my husband is still under the impression that it's still that high. It's not. What can I do about being pregnant because it's Valentine's Day? And I do love the deed. Thank you for your honesty, Samantha.
And a very realistic question. It's normal for your libido to fluctuate during pregnancy due to the hormonal levels that fluctuate. So specifically in the first half of pregnancy, generally you maintain your libido, but in the latter parts, due to mechanical difficulties, due to feeling tired, due to your sleeping pattern being altered, and the physiological changes that your body's going through, it's a natural progressive thing. The good news is it will be back.
Yes. Like you said, it fluctuates, so perhaps Samantha can exercise some spontaneity.
Correct.
If she's at home and she feels the need for the deed, she could go and visit her husband at work and hello.
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 Take some chocolate.
I love this. Wow, thank you so much for this topic and this conversation and for opening up to us so honestly, Dr. Darren. I think at the end of the day, you know, it may be fun to talk about and we might have a few laughs here and there, but what is most important is that if you are going to be exercising your libido, that you do so safely at the end of the day. Yeah, HIV, AIDS and such things are a very real reality of the world that we live in. And thank you also for all of your questions. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back after this.
Only you can make my day.